Welcome. We're finally going to do part two of what I started now as last week. But I wanted to spend a little bit more time to talk about people, characters in the Bible that God spoke to, gave a vision of their lives or a purpose in their lives before the age of 20. And there's quite a lot of them that really got into doing God's purposes for their lives before the age of 20. I started out talking about Abel, that his name means whisper, and things didn't turn out so well with Abel. But that led me to talk about how God often chooses the younger brother, right? So Seth, Shem, Abraham, Isaac, and you can watch the first part of the video to get the rest of that. But then the story goes on. Joseph. God gave me a wonderful vision of what he wanted to do in my life. Clearer than most people get. But I had to go through so many difficult times in my life because he was preparing me, says Joseph. And so the story of Joseph says to us today, be strong when people closest to you betray you. Resist sexual temptation. When you're falsely accused of wrongdoing, when you have to wait and wait and wait some more for God's plan to be fulfilled in your life. That's the message of Joseph. What about Samson? Samson, I had wonderful parents, unbelievable talents. The presence of God was with me, and God gave me a position to serve him. But I wasted so many opportunities. And so the lesson to be learned here is don't pursue a life of pleasure, but use what God has given you to deliver people from the things that control and kill them. Samuel. My birth was a miracle, and I was given to the service of God very young. But I was surrounded by an evil and immoral culture. I had to decide to follow the voice of God in my life. I have never regretted the decision I made, and God made me into a powerful agent of change in my country. Obedience is always better than sacrifice. How about David? Don't listen to people that say that you can't do it. But listen to what God is telling you to do in your heart. Run and never look back. Run towards your enemy. Run with passion for God. Run back to the arms of God when you've made a mistake. That's from the life of David before he was 20 years old. How about Jonathan? Jonathan, I was willing to help a friend achieve God's best in their lives. I was willing to help them do that and to stay in the shadows myself. The best decision I ever made. How about Solomon? Learn to look for and to spend time on what's really important in your life. Money, power, nations even pass. But loving God and being content with what he has given you will always bring you true fulfillment. How about Josiah? Both my parents and grandparents rebelled. They were rebellious against God, and they raised me as an unbeliever. But by the grace of God, I chose differently. The lesson here from Josiah is your past doesn't determine your future. What a great lesson from Josiah, also very young. How about Jeremiah? I knew of God's calling on my life when I was only 17 years old. My message was not a popular one, but I couldn't be quiet because I knew that it was God that was speaking to me. The greatest honor is to know that you are telling the words, that you're repeating the words of God. How about Daniel? Be true to God, whether you're surrounded by those who love God or not. Don't just avoid sensuality, greed, dishonesty, but stand tall and put God to the test. Face those who oppose you and let God deliver you. A great lesson from Daniel. Esther, a woman of courage. And there are so many examples of women of courage in the Bible. And we can use those examples as well. I think of Mary, also very young, when she heard the voice of God in her life. God, this is the lesson from Mary, God will give you courage also to face those who judge you while you quietly do the most important work of all. As you quietly whisper sweet words of love into the very ears of God. Jesus in the temple, remember when he was younger also, before the age of 20. I must be about my Father's business. And we are also about our Father's business when we learn to listen to the voice of God in our lives. Don't miss the opportunity that he offers. So all of these people, and you can start with the part 1 and all this is part 2. These people heard the calling of God in their lives and began to listen to the voice of God before the age of 20. There's a lot of them. And you can be one too. Lord bless you today.